Good morning, students. Welcome back. We are into JEE NEET lecture number 3. In the previous two lectures, we saw electric force, we saw field, we saw charge distributions, we saw the idea of a dipole, electric field due to a dipole, behavior of a dipole in a uniform and non-uniform electric field. Today, we are going to look at field lines. We are going to discuss electric flux along with Gauss's law and the applications of Gauss's law. And we are going to do some different type of numericals in JEE and NEET. Let us start. The idea is electric field lines. Now, we know for a positive charge, electric field lines come radially outwards. For a negative charge, electric field lines come radially inwards. But what if I have such a system? Plus Q minus Q charge, what would be the illustration of the electric field for this arrangement? Always remember the first idea, the first point, electric field lines come out from positive charge and they enter into negative charge. So the field lines would be of this idea. If you're looking carefully, can you see field line is coming out from positive charge and entering into negative charge? Not only like this, they can also be like this or like this or like this or like this. Any scenario. They can also go like this, move up, or yahan se they can come back. From here they can come out, they can move down and they can come back here. In short, they have to come out from plus charge and they have to enter into the negative charge. So that is going to be my first point. First point, electric field lines come out from positive charge and enter into negative charge. Second point, now somebody would like to tell me, would like to ask me, sir, I have this point P. What will be the direction of electric field at this point P? The idea is draw a tangent to the line and you get the electric field. So this is the electric field at point P. Somebody would ask me, this is point S. What would be the direction of electric field? Draw a tangent, you get electric field at point S. So, second point, tangent at any point on the field line gives direction of electric field at that point. Third, the field lines, if they are crowded, they would indicate strong field, and if they are widely spaced apart, would indicate weak field. So crowded field lines indicate strong field and vice versa. Fourthly, and very importantly, two field lines never intersect each other. I'm sure you remember that if two field lines intersect, then at the point of intersection there can be two tangents which would indicate two different directions of the same electric field, which is not possible. So two field lines can never intersect each other. And lastly, now this point is not there in the NCERT textbook, but it's very important from the JEE point of view. Number of field lines for a charge Q, N is beta Q by epsilon 0. Remember this? Number of field lines either coming out or going into a charge Q is given as N is equal to beta Q by epsilon 0, where beta is a constant. And also remember, if beta is not given, you are going to take it as 1. So this is a very important idea. If beta is not given, you are going to take it as 1. So this is what is electric field, what the electric field lines are all about. Remember, so the number of field lines for this charge Q, these are two equal and opposite charges. So the number of field lines coming out from plus Q has to be equal to the number of field lines going into minus Q. If there would have been plus Q, the field would have been radially outwards. There will be nothing in between. Okay, so this is the idea of field lines. Let's move on. Let me just show you a small illustration. There's asked this somewhere in the past, that this was the idea of the electric field, and in this particular electric field they had kept a dipole. Now this is a dipole, and the question asked was, is this dipole going to remain stationary or is it going to move in any direction? Now you have to look at it this way. Let me draw a refined diagram. Maybe this diagram will do the trick. Now if you look at the dipole, can you see that plus Q charge is in this region, whereas minus Q charge is in this region? In this particular region, the field lines are widely spaced apart. So here, this is a weak field. So here, this indicates weak field. Whereas here, the field lines are closed. They are crowded. So this indicates strong field. Secondly, we remember, I hope you remember, F bar is QE bar. So force on positive charge will be in the direction of electric field. This will be force on the positive charge. And what will be the force? What will be the direction of force on minus Q? It will be opposite to the direction of electric field. The question is, are these two forces same? We don't know, sir. Okay. F plus is Q into E plus, whereas F minus is Q into E minus. Where is electric field more? Here. Here, E minus greater than E plus. You agree? Here the electric field is stronger. Here the electric field is weaker. So E minus is greater than E plus, and as a result F minus greater than F plus. This force is greater than this force. As a result, the dipole experiences net force. So dipole experiences net force towards the left. So this was a numerical which employed more than two ideas. The first idea was field lines. The second idea was F bar is QE bar, and the third idea was which force is bigger. Is it F plus or is it F minus? So this idea took us this gave us this idea. This final answer is the idea here. Let's go on. We'll talk about flux. You can have a look at it. Electric flux, I'm sure you know, is the amount of electric field linked with any area. How many field lines are passing through any particular area? That is what is electric flux. So when I find out the number of electric field lines which are crossing any area, that idea is termed electric flux. So if I were to write out a definition of electric flux, it would be something like this, that the amount of field linked with any area, the number of field lines passing through any area is called electric flux. And utilizing this definition, I have a couple of equations for electric flux. That electric flux phi is electric field E bar into area vector A bar. You can also write it S bar, doesn't make any difference. And since it is a scalar product, you can write it as phi is EA cos theta, where theta is the angle between the electric field E bar and area vector A bar. So flux phi is E bar dot A bar, phi is EA cos theta. And if there are a number of areas for a number of small areas, total flux, you can either take a summation. Let's first take a summation. Flux phi is summation for all areas E bar dot delta S bar or delta A bar. And if I were to write it in integral form, I would write it flux phi is integral E bar dot ds bar for all the areas. So one of the most widely used definitions is this: flux phi is E bar dot ds bar for all areas. Flux, you can see, is a scalar and its SI unit is electric field is Newton per Coulomb, area is meter square, so Newton meter square per Coulomb, or electric field is also volt per meter. Volt per meter into meter square is voltmeter. Remember this. Also note, flux coming out of an area is termed positive and flux entering an area is termed negative. I base this on the idea that flux which is coming out is good. It's a good amount of flux which comes out, so that is considered positive, whereas flux which enters anything is taken negative. Here, this is the concept. Let's move on. Anything else? Yes, always remember, suppose this is an area, this is a surface. What will be the area vector of the surface? The area vector is always perpendicular to the surface. So if I were to ask you that this is my area, this is an area, what would be the area vector? This vector, this blue colored vector would be the area vector for this surface. If this would be the surface, this would be the area vector. Always remember, the perpendicular drawn to any surface is the area vector of that surface. Which now brings us to Gauss's law. And one of the most important ideas, you can have a look at it for once. One of the most important ideas of this chapter is Gauss's law. And Gauss gave us a very important law, and in which he taught us to find the electric field linked with any surface. We are just going to see the law here. We are not going to look at the derivation. We saw the derivation in the board lecture. So Gauss' law states that the amount of flux linked with any closed surface, now this is integral over a closed surface, E bar dot ds bar, is the ratio of sigma q and epsilon 0. So the flux linked with a closed surface, let me write closed surface here so that there are no misunderstandings, is equal to the summation of all the charges divided by epsilon 0. And utilizing this idea, if I say, supposedly, I write it as a note, if sigma q is 0, if sigma q is 0, then there is no electric field linked with the surface. That means the electric field is also 0. So if there is no charge in the closed surface, the electric field is also 0. Also remember, if there is no charge does not mean there is nothing inside the surface. There might be a dipole. If there is a dipole inside the surface, suppose this is the closed surface, such a closed surface is termed as a Gaussian surface. And if I got a dipole, so what would be sigma q? What will be the total sum of charges? It would be plus q minus q, which would be 0. So electric field will also be 0. But this being 0 does not in any way mean that there is nothing inside the Gaussian surface. You can see there is a dipole inside the Gaussian surface. There are charges inside the Gaussian surface. So this is the idea. We'll now go to applications of Gauss's law. And applications of Gauss's law, we will look at wire, surface plane charge sheet, we'll look at a hollow sphere, and we'll look at a solid sphere. Let's move on. Applications of Gauss's law. Okay, let's go to applications of Gauss's law. 4 main applications. The first is the electric field due to a charged conductor. Charged conductor means basically a wire. You can see this is a one-dimensional wire. Let us say it has been positively charged. And if it's a one-dimensional wire, we have linear charge density to be lambda. I would like to find out what is the direction and magnitude of electric field at this point P, which is at a perpendicular distance r from this wire. Two things. First, the direction of electric field at this point will be radially outwards. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is the direction for the electric field due to this conductor. And secondly, the magnitude. The magnitude of the electric field is given as E is lambda by 2 pi epsilon 0 r. But I personally prefer 2k lambda by r. So electric field being radially outwards, first case, and second electric field is 2k lambda by r. Secondly, let's go to a two-dimensional thing. This is a charged plane sheet, charged surface, you can call it, charged plane sheet. And charged plane sheet, let us say this is the plane sheet, and this sheet has got positive charge spread all over it. And since this is two-dimensional, we shall define surface charge density, sigma. What then is the electric field at this point P? Again, two things. One, electric field due to this sheet is again radially outwards. And secondly, the magnitude of this electric field, E, is sigma by 2 epsilon 0. So if you are watching closely, you will see that there is no mention of distance. So this electric field at this point does not depend on distance. It is independent of distance. So even if this point P is here or here or here or here, the net electric field will remain sigma by 2 epsilon 0. Let me take up a special case. You have seen this also. First, let us take a general case. This is sigma 1. I have dealt with all this. I am just brushing this up. For sigma 1, there are 3 electric fields here, here, and here, all being sigma 1 by 2 epsilon 0. And for sigma 2, let me write that in blue. The change in color would indicate the difference. These are the 3 electric fields for sigma 2. So this is sigma 2 by 2 epsilon 0, sigma 2 by 2 epsilon 0, and sigma 2 by 2 epsilon 0. Now you have 3 regions where you need to find electric field. 1, 2, and 3. Let us take all of them turn by turn. Here you can see both arrows are in the same direction, so electric field will add up, which will be sigma 1 plus sigma 2 by 2 epsilon 0. Same here, again they will add up, and in this region between the plates, one is in that direction and other is in the opposite direction. So the net electric field, let us take sigma 1 bigger, it will be sigma 1 minus sigma 2 by 2 epsilon 0. Very beautiful idea this. And this is the general case. I will show you the special case also. I shall rub this off now. Special case is indeed special. Two plates. The only difference, this is plus sigma, this is minus sigma. Two equal and oppositely charged plates. Let us look at the electric fields. 1, 2, 3. All for the first plate plus sigma, and secondly the blue one for minus sigma. Again 3 directions. You can see that I am simply substituting minus sigma in place of sigma 2. I am changing nothing. And now if you consider yourself to be good at math, you can see both these will add up to produce sigma plus minus sigma, which comes out to be 0. Here the same thing, sigma plus minus sigma, which comes out to be 0. And finally the big idea, sigma minus minus sigma, which comes out to be sigma by epsilon 0 from positive to negative, this direction. So, well, to be very frank, this is constituting what is called a capacitor. Two equal and oppositely charged plates, they have high electric field between them, net electric field being 0 outside. This is going to, what is going to be important in the second chapter. This is what is called a capacitor. Have a good look, then we'll go on to hollow sphere. Hollow sphere I equated with a pani puri. You might have already seen that. So, you know a pani puri, it's a hollow shell, it's a hollow sphere. There is only material on the surface. There is nothing inside, it is hollow. So number 3, hollow sphere. Or you can also call it a charged spherical shell. So if you want to see this carefully, this is a hollow sphere, and the moment you say hollow sphere, that means everything is on the surface, and that is the prime reason why I am drawing charges on the outer surface of this shell, indicating that charge is only present on the outer surface. There is nothing inside the shell. Now if you look at point P, this point P is lying inside the shell. If you draw a Gaussian surface, this blue colored Gaussian surface, and you would like to find electric field, back diagram. If you would like to find the electric field, then what would be sigma q? What is the total charge inside the shell? You will see that this shell is empty because this is a hollow sphere. There is nothing inside. So this gives me my first equation. E inside is 0. There is no electric field at any point inside the shell. Whereas if you were to go outside, then E outside, again two lovely equations. First, and my personal favorite, KQ by R square. And if you are, now as I said, only on the surface there is charge. So we would define surface charge density sigma. Sigma is charge upon area. charge is how much? Q, and area of a shell is 4 pi r square. So if somebody would want it in terms of sigma, it would be E outside. You can easily put K as 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0, and Q from here is sigma into 4 pi r square. So you land up with, you want me to derive, I'll do that, into sigma into 4 pi r square. You can see 4 pi goes away. So E outside is sigma by epsilon 0 big R square by small r square. To be candid, we shall write big R is the radius of the shell and small r is the distance of the point from the center of the shell. Which brings us to an important idea. What would be the electric field at any point on the surface? Let me put that as a note. Though they seldom mention this, on the surface. Well, do you agree on the surface small r is equal to big R? Let me put that here. So E on the surface, sigma by epsilon 0 into big R square over. Now this small r has become big R. So big R square by big R square goes away. So electric field on the surface is simply sigma by epsilon 0. So somebody asked me one day that I've got two shells. One has a radius of 10 centimeter, the other has a radius of 20 centimeter. But both have same surface charge densities. Then what is the ratio of electric fields on the surface? I say, you're kidding me. On the surface, electric field is sigma by epsilon 0. Radius does not matter. So if both have same surface charge density, then the electric field will also be same irrespective of the radius. Alright, so though both have different radii but have same surface charge density, then electric field on the surface will be same. Which brings us to our last and the most important idea, which is called solid sphere. I equate a solid sphere with a ladu. So you can have a look. This is, solid sphere is a three-dimensional idea. Solid in every sense, hollow in none. A solid sphere has charge packed in its entire volume, and as a result it has got volume charge density. So there is charge in its entire volume, so it has got volume charge density. This is a solid sphere. And people ask me, sir, how do you come to know that this is a solid sphere? Just by looking at it. I say, if it would have been a hollow shell, there would be charge only on its outer surface. Is there anything drawn on the outer surface? No. Which indicates that charge is packed inside this volume. That is why this is a solid sphere. And a solid sphere will have volume charge density. Volume charge density. One of our favorite items. Rho is charge over volume, and which is Q over 4 by 3 pi r cube. And utilizing this idea, I would like to find electric field at two different points. The first is the point inside the sphere at a distance small r, and for that I'll have to draw the Gaussian surface, and I will have to take this much charge, and using Gauss's law, assuming uniform charge density. So what do I have at a point inside? The sphere. E inside is, you want me to derive, already derived it in the board lectures. E inside, let me derive it, let me do this. Now, by Gauss's law, integral E bar dot dA bar is sigma q by epsilon 0. Those people who were not there in the doubt lectures will find this useful. Now, dA bar is the area of the Gaussian surface. This is also going to be a bit important for the numericals that I'm going to solve later on. Now you can see this is a three-dimensional contraption of radius small r. A three-dimensional sphere of small r radius has area 4 pi r square. So the area is 4 pi r square, and sigma q, another one of my superstars, charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface. So you can see Gaussian surface is king everywhere. It is going to be my ultimate boundary. So this red shaded portion is the charge enclosed by the Gaussian surface. How are we going to find that? So sigma q is volume charge density into volume, as simple as it gets. Now rho into, what is the volume of this Gaussian surface? It's easy peasy Japanesey. And now I put dA as 4 pi r square, sigma q as this, right in this equation. Thus E into 4 pi r square is 1 by epsilon 0 rho 4 by 3 pi r cube, and cutting gives me the final equation. So I'll write that in blue to indicate that this is the final thing that we have obtained. E inside is rho by 3 epsilon 0 into r. Beautiful equation for E inside. And if you are concerned, you can put rho as q by 4 by 3 pi r cube. You will also be able to get this in terms of big Q. Now let's go outside. Let's proceed outside. You can have a look at this. I'm going to use the same idea for a point outside the sphere, and I will need to draw a new diagram for a point outside, but I'll keep the same. At a point outside, I am not going to change the basic structure here. Basic structures do not change. Understand, this is the way to do business. Things will not change. They might deviate a little, but this is S, point outside, and this is your small r. This small r is the distance from O to this point S. And let me draw my Gaussian surface. Lovely sphere this. Alright. Gaussian surface is the surface having radius small r. And at a point outside the sphere, Gauss law remains same. dA bar also remains same. Area of the Gaussian surface. So you can see the only thing that's changed is this point has come out. Nothing, no big difference. The red color Gaussian surface is still that spherical three-dimensional contraption, dA being 4 pi r square, and sigma q, charge enclosed. If you were to see carefully how much amount of charge is enclosed by the Gaussian surface, you will say the entire sphere is enclosed. So charge enclosed is q, which gives you therefore E into 4 pi r square is 1 by epsilon 0 into q, or E outside is q by 4 pi epsilon 0 r square, or since this is the beautiful final equation, I'll write it in blue. E outside is k q by r square, where r, mind well, is the distance of the point from the center, nothing else. Also, you might put q as rho into 4 by 3 pi r cube to obtain the equation in form of rho. So let me start it from here. Put Q as rho into 4 by 3 pi r cube. So E is 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 r square into rho 4 by 3 pi r cube. 4 pi goes away. So what are you left with? Final equation, people. E outside rho by 3 epsilon 0 into big R cube by small r square. This is a lovely equation for E outside. Let me look at it for some time. Let me utilize this to do a couple of numericals which are really important in the sense that here we have taken rho to be uniform. But what if rho is not uniform? What if it is changing? Let me show you a couple of numericals based on this idea. In this sum at hand, there is an electron of 100 eV kinetic energy which is fired towards the charged plane sheet having surface charge density minus 2 into 10 raised to minus 6 coulomb per meter square. And they've asked you the distance from where the electron be projected so that it just fails to strike the surface. Okay, this was the question. Now let us look at the idea. This is an electron, let us say having initial velocity v0. We already have its kinetic energy. And this is a charged plane sheet. Now it is a negatively charged plane sheet. So this electron is negative, this is also negative. Both are like charges, so there will be repulsion between them. As a result, if you want to talk at it from an electric field point of view, the electric field is along this direction. An electron being a negative charge will experience acceleration in the opposite direction of the electric field. The acceleration of the electron, we know A is QE by M, and being electron it is EE by M. Also, kinetic energy is half mvo square. So half mvo square, you know that kinetic energy is given as 100 eV. So you take 2 here, m down there, v0 square is 200 eV by m. We need to find out the distance. Let us say from here to here distance is d, and they have asked us that here when the electron reaches, the speed final becomes 0. So everything is now set up. v0 is v0, final speed is 0, acceleration is e by m, and distance is d. So v square minus v0 square is 2ad, final is 0, and v0 square is out here 200 eV by m, electric field EE. But do not forget there has to be a minus sign since acceleration is in opposite direction. This is the direction of acceleration into d. Minus minus goes away, and let us now substitute the values. But before I do that, electric field due to a plane sheet having surface charge density sigma is sigma by 2 epsilon 0. And now cutting 200 eV. 1 eV is 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 90. This is 2. The value of E 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 90. Sigma 2 into 10 raised to minus 6. I have simply taken values because direction I took earlier into D, and this is epsilon 0, 8.85 into 10 raised to minus 12. 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 goes away from both cases. So what are you left with? I'll take away 2 also from here. So D, I'll take it up here, 2 into 8.8. Both these zeros will combine with 10 is to minus 12 to give 10 is to minus 10 upon, what are you left with? 2 into 10 raised to minus 6. Wow, 2 also goes away. So you are left with 8.8 into 10 raised to minus 4 meter. And if you are so compelled, you want to put it in millimeter, 0.88 or 0.88 millimeter. So this is the value of D. You can check it out. So here it was using 2 to 3 ideas at one time. First, having a negatively charged plate. Secondly, throwing the electron so that it experiences acceleration in the opposite direction. Thirdly, the idea of acceleration, which is E by m. And finally, using the mechanical concept of V square minus V0 square is 2AD. These 4 concepts mix to form what is called the main idea of this numerical. Let us look at another numerical, a bit more technical in its treatment, and this is going to be a very important numerical, so please pay attention. We'll be back with this numerical. You can just have a look. Now I present the $1 million sum, which is a very lovely sum, a little bit technical, faint-hearted, the Gödel-Laplace lines, a very important sum this. Let me show you. There is a spherically symmetric charge distribution having charge density. They have given us the volume charge density, which is rho is equal to rho 0, 5 by 4 minus small r by big R. This is up to the surface, and outside the surface charge density is 0, indicating there is nothing outside the surface. R is the distance from this center O. This is the origin. The electric field at a distance small r from the origin. Now let's take up the idea. This is my point P. Here R is lesser than big R. So this point is lying outside. Inside. So I will have to find the electric field here. You say, sir, no problem, use Gauss's law, or you have an equation. But people, you can see that this charge density is not uniform. It is changing with distance. As a result, you can't use your normal ideas of rho of r by 3 epsilon 0. You can't do that. What we can do and what we should do and what we will always do is we will take up a small elemental ring. This is an elemental ring having radius r and width is dr. So first things first, what is this is a three-dimensional type ring. This is not a, not a two-dimensional ring, but it's a three-dimensional idea. You can call it a hollow sphere like sorts. So what is the area of this elemental shell? We can call it a shell. Consider a shell of radius, I think shell is the right word, of radius r and width dr. What is the area of the shell? Area of this shell is 4 pi r square. But do we need area? No, we need volume. And volume of elemental shell dV is area into the width of that shell, the thickness of that shell, 4 pi r square into dr. This is my first equation. So now the $1 million question, how much is the charge enclosed? Charge in the elemental shell. So all those worshippers of charge distribution, remember dq is rho into volume. Surface charge density, volume charge density into volume gives us charge. So my volume charge density is out here. Be careful. Be utterly careful. into, this is the volume. If you want, I can put up a little more stuff, 4 pi rho 0, and let me put r square inside, minus. And now this was just the charge enclosed in the elemental shell. This till P is made up of a lot of such elemental shells. So what will be the total charge enclosed by this blue colored Gaussian surface? We shall take this off out here. Or shall I take this? Just look at it for a minute. I think I'll take the entire thing. So charge enclosed. I think I can take up the numerical also. You've already seen it. So charge enclosed always integrate by the Gaussian surface is sigma q, we call it, is integral dq from where to where? From 0 to r. And what comes outside? 4 pi rho 0 comes outside. Integral 5r square by 4 minus r cube by r whole dr from 0 to r. Let me rub this off now. I'm sure integration is everybody's piece of cake. 5 by 4 comes out. R square, integral r square, r cube by 3, 0 to r, minus 1 by r is outside. Integral r cube is r4 by 4. And put the limits. What are we going to get? 4 pi rho 0. 5 by 4 3s are 12. R cube minus 0 is going away. Minus R4 by 4R. This was equation number 2. This is equation number 3. This is my charge enclosed. And now time for the great Gauss's law. By Gauss's law. What is Gauss's law? Line integral E bar dot dA bar is sigma q by epsilon 0. So E into area of the Gaussian surface always remains same. In all the ages it was 4 pi small r square. And here is our sigma q. 4 pi rho 0. Be careful. Be absolutely careful. And this now goes away. We are approaching the final answer. I can already smell the answer from here. What goes away? 4 pi goes away. And r square, let's take it out. 4 pi has already gone away. Rho 0 by epsilon 0. And r square has come down. Going to get cut. But first, let me represent this fruitfully. I cut r square from here. What is left? R by 12 minus this r square goes r square. You can see I can take 4 from both these outside. And what is left inside? 5r by 3 minus r square by r. Ladies and gentlemen, nothing better than this sum. Let me give you a small sum for homework practice. You can do it at home. The volume charge density of a sphere is given as, let me write that volume charge density now. The volume charge density was given as QR by pi r raised to 4, where r is the radius and small r is the distance from the center. What is the question? Find the electric field at a distance at a point at a distance r1 from the center of the sphere. Remember, r1 is less than r, which means that the point is lying inside the shell. And you want me to give you the answer? Let me give you 4 options. The 4 options are q by 4 pi epsilon 0 r1 square. B is q r1 square by 4 pi epsilon 0 r raised to 4. C is q r1 square by 12 pi epsilon 0 r raised to 4, or rather you can take it as 3. And D is 0. The answer to this has been done utilizing the same ideas as you saw right now. And for that, you will take a small surface, and from the small surface, I think this was 12 pi, this was okay. You will use the same idea that we used to do the sum. You will assume a small shell. You will find out the area, then the volume, then the charge enclosed by the shell. Then you will find out sigma q is integral dq, and utilizing Gauss's law, the answer will come. You can give me the answer in the next lecture. Well, in the next lecture, I'll be doing some important sums for chapter 1, and at that time we will be completing the JEE syllabus of chapter 1, and we'll be moving on to chapter 2. So till then, stay safe, happy solving. Thank you so much.